What's up, everyone? What is happening? Okay, so Facebook on Wednesday announced a ban on praise, support, and representation of white nationalism and white separatism. The social media giant didn't provide additional details on what would fall in these categories, leaving it unclear whether something like an image of a Confederate flag would get censored under the ban. But phrases like "I am a proud white nationalist" and "immigration is tearing this country apart," "white separatism is the only answer," will now be outlawed. Speaking about free speech here, I mean, this is just blatant disregard for free speech. Now it's the hate speech movement, and it's like, what consists of hate speech? Whatever hurts their feelings is hate speech, pretty much. You can't even discuss immigration now. They're gonna cut you off for that. Just talk about why you're against immigration, and now you're called a white nationalist, and they want to boot you off of their platform. We're all white supremacists, by the way. If you have white skin, you're a white supremacist. It doesn't matter. That's their new buzzword. They love throwing it around. The very second you say something that they don't agree with, you're now a white supremacist, a white nationalist, and you're all those things. And even if you were a white nationalist, you can't even say it. You can't even in the conversation on Facebook say that you're a proud white nationalist. What if I'm having a peaceful conversation with you, and you happen to be a proud white nationalist, and maybe I'm trying to reason with you and find common ground and pull you back or whatever, but you said what you said, and now you're placed on a ban. What if you're a proud black nationalist? Are you allowed to say I'm a proud pro-black a separatist, a proud pro-black nationalist? You'll be allowed to say that because you can always say anything that's anti-white, you're allowed to say, because in their mind you can't be racist towards white people because white people have all the power. They redefine exactly what terms mean and definitions and stuff to suit their need, and then they throw it at us, and then they explain it to us. It's funny because they black explain it to us, right? They say we're always white explaining, but then they black explain to us, or it's the self-loathing white liberal who has to white explain exactly what he accuses us of. Well, white explain to us what racism is, or just this redefined term that their sociology or gender professor studies told them. Some other bullshit that they're wasting their money learning from some crackpot, pseudo-intellectual professor who, he or she thinks that they're like super geniuses because they can write a really nice letter, and they think they're so smart, and they're not. They're like dumb as fucking rocks. Okay, so prior to Wednesday announcement, Facebook prohibited users only from supporting white supremacy, and again, will they define what white supremacy is? Of course not. There is no definition for it because they don't know what it is. White supremacy to them is, if you're white, you're a white supremacist. The only way you could not be, a strong white supremacist is if you're an ally, if you're a comrade, if you admit that you're a racist and admit that you're inherently racist, and and check your privilege and admit to your privilege. And it's like, well, you're not a full white supremacist. You're half and half. You're learning. You're an ally. You're a comrade. You're one of us. So you're not a full white supremacist. You're coming around. We'll get around to indoctrinating you fully into us. We'll have you licking our boots. That's pretty much the mentality with the useful idiots, the self-loathing white liberals that are running around with this nonsense, right? But someone like me, who's just a regular conservative, libertarian, I'm a member of the right, moderate, nothing too far out, nothing too far to the right, center to right, although they're pushing me further and further right. This is not what I wanted to happen. But, it's funny because, they say, I've heard some of these crackpots say that, like, Ben Shapiro is a pipeline to the alt-right and to the far right. And it's like, he's just a regular conservative. It's like, this is what they think of us. This is exactly what they think of us. So, I was always getting pushed to the far right no matter what, just by being anywhere on the right. You're already, it's a pipeline to the far right. They completely ignore the fact that they are a pipeline to the alt-left, to the far left, to the radicals, the Marxists, the postmodernists, the communists, the socialists. But to them, that's all good. It's fine. They're the virtuous ones, and we're the evil cisgender straight white male patriarch. Trying to we're the fascists. Meanwhile, fascism has always been a left-wing ideology. It's never been on the right. If anything, the further right you go, the less government you have. But to the left, the further left you go, the more controlling dictator type of government, or more of a fascist government that you have. All fascist leaders were to the left. I mean, this is just, a part of history, that they sweep under the rug and act like it's just not true. And they don't even teach you about this in school. They ignore the fact that all these socialist dictators that ever existed were fascist. In one way or another. The left even uses fascist memes. I mean, it means to shut us down. This is one of them. They're trying to police our speech on social media. This way, we can't even not only fight back, not only voice our opinion and our concerns about things, but we can't even have a rational discussion with someone, so we can try to maybe convince them that we're not as bad as you think we are, that maybe you can see our point of view and our perspective on certain things. We won't be able to do that, because if you type the wrong thing into Facebook, their computer algorithm could pick up to it and put you on a ban. So, there you go. This is nothing short of censorship. This is really what it is. So what the plan is, if they do place you on a ban, they don't worry, because they can reprogram you. So one aspect of the new policy will also be a redirect users who try to post racist content to Life After Hate, a nonprofit that helps people leave hate groups, the company said. So, what kind of, happy-go-lucky liberal bullshit is this? You're gonna redirect me to a nonprofit group? What are they gonna do? They're gonna hug me and maybe bring me a support puppy or something. Maybe I'll sit down and have like hot chocolate and drink eat cookies or something with them, and they're gonna hug me and rub my back and tell me it's gonna be okay, and to just admit my privilege. Really, what's gonna happen eventually at some point in the future, when we get sent to the gulags, where we're gonna get placed in room 101 so they can reprogram us like in George Orwell's 1984, my man Winston, right? Where they do to him at the end. He was in room 101 and they tortured him before he was able. By the time he got out and he bumped into Julia, his love, the woman he had the love affair with, he didn't even want to look at her. He didn't even care that he lost the love of his life. He was like, I don't even give a shit. I don't want to go back to room 101. It's crazy when you're choosing not to get pussy over having to get stuck and put into that room. That's exactly what these people are trying on us. Oh man, I mean, it's just crazy, At this point, in the game, man, I don't know what's gonna happen. I think, at one point we're gonna have to fight back. We're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to prevent the left from going this far. They have conflated everyone who is on the right with being a white nationalist, a white supremacist, a white separatist, and anyone who has an opinion that differs from them is a white supremacist, plain and simple. It's bad enough they feel all white people are white supremacists no matter what. Even if you're on their side, they feel that you inherently have white supremacy in you, and you're just learning to tone it down because you're an ally or a comrade of theirs. And this is what's happening. I mean, I was reading the Daily News. That's where I learned this from. The Daily News, right now this is the New York Post. The Daily News and the Post are owned by the same people, so they're playing both sides of the fence. I mean, behind closed doors, they're doing this to each other. So both of them are bullshit. The Daily News quoted the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a very ultra left-leaning organization that they claim to fight against racism and hate and all that stuff, and they have this list of hate groups, and according to them in the New York Daily News article, that hate groups were growing and growing and growing out of control to a record high. And it's like, well, of course it is. You keep putting groups and people on this list, so of course it keeps growing. Stop putting people on the list, you fucking idiots. What do? You'll have a church that will say, well, we're a church, we believe in Christian values, and we won't perform a gay wedding because it's against our religion. And it's like, okay, well, now we're going to put you on a hate group. Now you're a hate group. So hey, put another person on this hate group now. And it's like, well, did you go down to the mosque and see if they'll perform a gay wedding? Because they won't. Would you put them on the hate list? No, you won't do that. You're only going to put Christians and cisgender straight white male patriarchs on it. Or if it's a person of color who speaks out against you, you'll put them on the list, because they've done that too with individuals. And they made an individual list, a death list of people who are anti-Islamic extremists. Some of these people are former Muslims who were actually abused by the religion, who actually has a traumatic story to tell behind being in a religious cult. and they come out and speak out against it. It's like you're placing them on the list. Basically, you're telling all Muslims around the world, if you ever see this person, kill them. They hate you. They're an anti-Islamic extreme. This is what you're doing. I'm sure the Southern Poverty Law Center will tell you about the 1 or 2 mosques they did put on the list. It's like, yeah, that's the same 1 or 2 mosques that has like ties to terrorism, who are threatening to kill people. So yeah, you put them on a list. It's like you really can't compare a church, Christian church of, people are like, look, we just won't perform a gay wedding because we're Christians, with a mosque who's saying, well, let's just cut everyone's head off who doesn't agree with us. It's like, how did you make that comparison? That it doesn't hold up to each other. It's just 2 different worlds right there. So to quote the Southern Poverty Law Center is like, you're better off quoting like a Dr. Seuss book or something when dealing with politics, other than the Poverty Law Center, because I mean they just have a terrible reputation at this point in the game. I couldn't see anyone really listening to them. So what else do we got here? I mean, I guess that's really it. So obviously this is just a terrible idea from start to finish. I feel that eventually, at some point, at least maybe a few generations from now, this is not going to end good. This is really not going to end good at all. This is like the beginning stages of a civil war. This is the beginning stages. This is where it starts. We're just taking these little steps until it finally boils over and people get sick and tired of this and actions are taken. I wish there would be a conservative out there with the money to make their own social media platform that can compete with Facebook, to where we can move to, where we can truly have our free speech. Or it could be right-leaning, and we can pretty much do the same thing to the libs. I think what we really need to do is, collectively, all people on the right, we need to start treating the left the exact same way they treat us. We need to do exactly the same thing to them as they do to us. The way they think of us, we need to think of them. The name-calling against us, we need to do it back to them. Their behavior towards us, we need to do it right back to them. We need to let them know that they're not welcomed here, that they're not welcomed in, anywhere we are. We need to start kicking them out of bars when they show up wearing, an Obama hat or, I'm with her, or a Bernie Bro pin or something. Like, get the fuck out of my place. This is not a Bernie Bro bar. You know what I mean? Your Bernie Bro bar has a rainbow flag hanging outside. This one, no, we don't do that here. Goodbye. We need to start doing that right back to them and teaching them that, if that's the behavior you want to have, we try to be peaceful. We try to communicate with you. We're trying to work with you. We're trying to have discussions. We're trying to be peaceful. But, obviously we can't even do that because they want to boot us off of Facebook now. Now, when I say boot us off of Facebook, keep in mind that I'm not saying we're white supremacists, white nationalists, white separatists, or any of that stuff. But that may be who they claim that they're targeting. But that's not who's going to get caught up in the crossfire. You and I are going to get caught up in the crossfire, right? Well, people who don't agree with the left, well, I don't know who you agree with. I'm just talking to the camera, to my phone right now. But, if you're on my side of the aisle, we're just on Facebook just debating with people, not making hate speech, but all you have to do is type the wrong thing into the post section, whatever, and if their computers pick up to it, then that's it. You're on a ban, And again, we don't know how far this is going to extend to. We don't know exactly what words they're looking for, right? We don't know if they're, this is all a guise to get rid of Republicans off of Facebook, period. Right, they could say they're after white nationalists, but then eventually just do away with all of us. Any one of us who don't agree with them and engage in any type of conversation will get placed on a ban. So this is not really about white supremacy and white nationalists. And you ever think about it with the left, everything is white supremacy, white this, white that, everything. They're so obsessed with this. Like, I've never in my life, I've heard of the word white supremacist and racist so much in my life. It's like it's an everyday thing. You can't get away from it. They are so obsessed with white supremacy. They think it's everywhere. They think everyone's a white supremacist. And it's like, they still haven't defined what a white supremacist is. Every time you ask them, they give you a completely different definition. So, the only thing that would make sense is to say that a white supremacist is the exact same thing that a black supremacist is, or a Spanish supremacist, or a Chinese supremacist, or a Muslim supremacist, or or whatever. You know what I mean? Or whatever supremacist. A Native American supremacist. So everyone's a victim of tribalism. Everyone thinks that their lot is better than the next lot. But only the white lot is the ones who have to be ridiculed for it. Only us are the ones that will have to stand there and be verbally abused constantly. And, if you speak back, then, you know, obviously you don't, you know, your white privilege and you're mansplaining and whitesplaining and you know what I mean? It's just that same old bullshit with the left that a lot of people are growing tired of. Especially me. That's why I left them and I'm gone and I'm never coming back. So, all right, let me know how you feel in the comment section. Whatever, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, share, and I'll see you guys next time.